Four strong winds moving in, home again, Canadian. Pull on a sweater, there's a chill on the breeze. The leaves are shimmer in the poplar trees. From Thunder Bay through Saskatchewan, the sky is wide as the road is long. I do, I do, I do, I do, I do.
Who are Canadians? There's no clear definition.
Summer's almost over.
1,000 years ago, Canadians were Native Americans. And 300 years ago, Canadians were French settlers. Today, there's not one single definition for who we are. People have moved to Canada from all corners of the globe. No longer are we fur hat wearing coureurs de bois or soldiers from the British Army. Very few Canadians can say they truly come from North America. We're a hodgepodge collage of all different ethnicities, religions, and languages, but all Canadians share one thing: their home. To foreigners, a Canadian says A and plays hockey. To Canadians, we are so much more. What about the man next door who doesn't play hockey, but basketball? Or the girls down the street who don't ever say A? We live in such a diverse society that is made up of people from all over the world. To be a Canadian is to feel at home in a place where your heritage can be a source of pride and celebration. Citizens of Canada look at each other and see other citizens of Canada. We don't see Italians, South Africans, Chinese, Russians, British, or Brazilians. We don't see people of different groups as being different. We all share common rights and freedoms, and we all share the fact that we have a Canadian citizenship. Canada has an area of 9,093,507 kilometers square and a population of 33,311,389. Our country occupies 41% of the entire continent of North America. Our single nation is just a little bit larger than the 44 countries of Europe combined. Canadians live in badlands, tundras, and forests. Canadians live on mountains, beside lakes, and in cities. Our gross domestic product in 2008 amassed to $1.4 trillion US. Canada contains 9% of the world's freshwater supply, with a total of 31,752 lakes that have a surface area larger than 3 square kilometers. To be Canadian is to be thankful that we live in such a plentiful country. And us Canadians are used to cliches. Though no, not all Canadians live in an igloo, work as a lumberjack for a living, and have Tim Hortons coffee every single day. There are still certain components of our life that apply to all people who hold a Canadian passport. To be Canadian is to be part of a community. It is to be accustomed to changing seasons. It is to not mind a car ride of a couple of hours, even though it hardly gets you anywhere in a nation as vast as ours. It is to know that YYZ stands for Toronto Pearson Airport, and that it's 4 kilometers to the store, not 2.49 miles. In regards to our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, a Canadian is free to move. A Canadian is innocent until proven guilty, and a Canadian has the right to be informed of the reason of detainment or arrest. A Canadian is entitled to universal health care. A Canadian listens to the proceedings of their government in English et en français. And a Canadian votes not every 4 years, but rather whenever the government calls an election. To be Canadian is to be allowed to be opinionated. It is to not have to worry about civil war or discrimination and to know that you have a safe place to go home to. Canadians have 7 times more governmental representatives than Americans, and our country ranks 4th on the United Nations Human Development Index. To truly be Canadian is to represent your nation with pride and loyalty. It is to give charity to others all around the world who do not live in a nation as fortunate as ours. It is to know about the world and your place in it. To be Canadian is to be empathetic, caring, and resourceful. It is to proudly hang the flag of your nation wherever you wish, and to feel honored handing over your Canadian passport at an airport. The world is changing at an alarming rate, and so is the meaning of being Canadian. Canadians have evolved from fur traders and gold prospectors to successful businessmen and some of the greatest thinkers the world has ever seen. With imminent climate change on the horizon, Canadians need to improve their environmental awareness. Though it may seem silly for us to worry about climate change with so many resources available to us, it is because of our plentiful geography that many Canadians think they have the luxury to be wasteful. Canada ranks 8th in the world for annual CO2 emissions. All of the countries that rank higher than our nation on the list have at least double the population. This means that we are polluting at an unhealthy rate. Canadians are known to be wasteful and not environmentally conscious, so in the future it's essential that our lifestyles change and develop according to the resources our country and the world have to offer. In the future, if the citizens of our country do become aware of the strain their lifestyles are putting on the environment, one day, to be Canadian will mean to be environmentally aware. On a different note, it's desirable for the Canadian identity to be associated with the successful re-establishment of reliable government in Afghanistan. In the future, people will look back and think one of either 2 things about our participation in the Middle East. Either, what our troops did was an amazing achievement, we should be proud. Or, it's a shame we lost so many men and women for an unsuccessful mission. I sincerely hope people all over the world remember our troops as being heroic and successful. Establishing a Canadian reputation of one that is hard-working and dedicated is definitely something we can strive for as a nation. The national anthem of my country. I love it. Anyways, changes to the Canadian identity are inevitable. Sometimes, to me, it's hard to figure out exactly what being a Canadian is. According to me, a Canadian should be proud of where they come from and where they live. In the words of Kim Campbell, Canada's first female Prime Minister, si nous le disons en français avec un accent saguenay, or in English with an accent from Newfoundland. Wherever we come from or wherever we live, we all share the most precious heritage that the world can give to humankind: our Canadian citizenship. I hope that I can always say, loudly and proudly, no matter where I am, that I am Canadian.